So I want to talk about my Battletech gunline LRM, long-range missile list. And this is building off the previous podcast that I uploaded regarding the Locust, where the Locust mech is kind of an important part of this lance, of this build. So certainly after this podcast or before this podcast, you can find it up on my YouTube channel here under the Battletech playlist. And the link to my blog underneath this vlog kind of goes into more detail and pictures and battle reports of this build on here. So whenever I create an army list in all the games that I play, whether it's Warhammer 40,000 or X-Wing or certainly Battletech, I take a core concept and divide it up on how it's going to work on the table. And then based on the units I want to play or the units in my collection, the models that I need to make it work, I will scale the number up or down or the type of models up and down to make it work. What I mean by that is if I said, hey, I want to play this type of lance, but I need 6,000 battle value to make it work, and you look at me and you're like, no, I can't play 6K because we don't have time or I don't have any miniatures to fill out my lances on that. Unless you're playing clans, then it's like 2 mechs and you're ready to go. Then my list falls apart. Then I'm not able to play it. I take out pieces to scale it down. I'm missing critical components, and it doesn't work. And then you just kind of run all over me. Where if I build the list to work at 2K, 4K, 6K, 8K, essentially I can come to you and say, look, what do you have in your collection? Or what do you feel like playing? What battle value are you comfortable with? Let's do it. So this scales up and down. I'm going to be talking about different units that appear in it to scale it up and down. So I had this vision. I mean, for me, Battletech is a very visual game, not only in my mind's eye, but on the tabletop. That's why, while I agree with hex maps, I think the true draw of Battletech is to have a traditional wargaming table, to have your mechs painted, to have them based, to have 3D trees and buildings and march across that table, and I have little smoke for blown up effects and craters and battlefield effects, and we get the theme music, 80s kind of theme music going on. And for that moment, if you step back, for that moment, you're there in the far future. You're there in the Battletech universe. I don't want to sound crazy. I actually visualize my mechs shooting. Like when I'm rolling the dice and I look, I visualize like those PPCs firing out and the lasers. So with the long range missiles, I had this thought where it's like, when I was playing one of my archers, I thought imagine if there was hundreds of missiles, kind of this classic picture of these missile tanks just lining up, just shooting out hundreds of missiles a turn, thousands of missiles a battle. Could it be done? And I started crunching the numbers, and let's go literal. Can I fire every single turn hundreds of long-range missiles at you? Forget about ammo resupplies or anything like that. Can we make it happen? Can we do it? And I also really love the longbow visually, both the unseen, the re-seen, the primitive, the recreated one. Bombardier is another great mech. Archers are great mechs. Can we embrace that? Can we do it? So the core of this lance build is based around 2 longbows at the lower battle value spectrum. As I have more battle value, I will now start to add in 1 or 2 archers. And then if I have more or less battle value I have to scale down, I will start adding in LRM carriers onto there. So at its height, I will have 2 longbows, 2 archers, 2 LRM 20 carriers. That's 60 on the LRM carriers. This is almost getting into higher math. It's almost 3 in the morning. I'm painting some miniatures here. Often these podcasts, I'll be sitting down at my hobby bench or working on some Battletech stuff, watching YouTube, listening to music, and I'm like, this would make an amazing idea. Or I'm looking through the comments on my blog, and I'm like, this we need to look at. So this is higher math at this moment. 120 missiles on the 2 LRM carriers, 1660, 120, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, we're up to 200, 20, 40, 50, 60, 260, 270, 280 missiles in total, firing out a turn, real time. That's with the 2 archers, the 2 longbows, and the 2 LRM 20 carriers. We can check the math on that. I'll do that when I've had a little more sleep and some more caffeine. That's a lot of missiles. That's a lot of missiles at range. You are not going to want to eat that. That also opens up the tactical possibility. I mean, it's beyond redundancy. That opens up the tactical responsibility. If I can soak you with indirect fire, there's nowhere to hide. If I move up as a block and just lay those down, if you're in city fight, I'll just indirect fire on buildings, level everything. There is nowhere to hide. So that's building that. Now, in order to take care of indirect, I'm going to need some spotters in there. And I'm still going to need to take advantage of the fact that you are going to want to you're not just, this is the theory in the list, you're not just going to sit there and let me roll lots of missile dice. You're going to stop it. So I have to anticipate the ways you are going to nullify it. So in terms of spotting, I could take air assets like warriors. I could take fast-moving hover units and get the spotting for indirect there. I could drop off Karnovs with infantry. All works, all very potent. But I want to take advantage of the fact of not only having spotters, but realize as your lance, as your combined arms moves forward to engage my LRM horde here, because you're going to want to get under the minimum, and certainly if I have longbows, you're going to want to close because the armor's nothing on them. The LRM carrier's armor's nothing. I think it's like 14? 12, 12, 12, or like 14, 14, 14, something like that, front and sides. You want to get close. So that's going to open up the possibility for rear armor that I can shoot on you if I can get something fast moving. For the lulls, and this is where the Locust video, so the first group is this LRM pack. For the lulls, and my goal to become the most feared and respected Locust pilot in the inner sphere, I take 3 locusts. If I have the battle value, 4 locusts. 5 locusts, it can go up to insane if we're playing 12K. 8 locusts on their 12K battle value. Those locusts are the variant with the medium laser and the SRM 2s. 2 packs, 2 SRM 2 packs on there, on the locust side stalks, side pods. They work as a pack. They can stay far away. They move very, very fast. I mean, what's going to really catch up to them that's non-hover? A spider or something like that, spider mech, light mech, fast-moving mech. They will get spotting. When you close into the LRM pack, they're going to swing around and they're just going to locust swarm you, lasers, missiles, kicking, doing all sorts of crazy stuff on there. Now, that said, I need some sort of blocking unit. A blocking unit is something that hangs out. So these are my 2 groups so far. I need a 3rd group. There's 4 groups in the list total. My 3rd group, this blocking group, is going to consist of 2 Demolisher tanks at a minimum. If I have more battle value, I really can't increase it. Look, I'd love to get 4 Demolisher tanks. I'd love to get 6. But I have to realize with everything I need, the operational pieces to make this Lance list work, I need to limit it, certain things in certain places. 2 Demolishers. They hang out with the LRMs, and then as you move in, they will push forward and try to get physically in front of you, a number of hexes in front of you, and just park. They have the armor. If they get immobilized and take motive hits, they have the turret. The short range on the AC-20s, 2 AC-20s, while it's short range, it puts out a threat bubble. I'm not going deep recon. I'm going 8 to 12 spaces ahead, or 15 spaces, hexes ahead of the LRM Lance. So with the rotation of the turrets, you will be in range. And by the other tactic I enjoy, I call it big guns never tire. Inspired by the tyrant of Badab himself, Huron Blackheart, before he turned to the dark gods. My ships may lay at anchor, and my guards may rest, but my opponents know full well that big guns never tire. You can have your fancy tactics and your fancy mechs. You can't argue against 4 AC-20s. Can't argue against 6 or 8, but I can't get that in the list. That's the blocking unit. The 3rd piece is, you've outsmarted me, the dice have gone against me, or just welcome to Battletech, crazy stuff happens. You make it past all my missiles coming at you. You make it past the blocking units. Now I've got some mech assets or vehicle assets on top of me. I can't retreat. I can't backpedal. Okay, the archers got the medium lasers. They've got the fists to try and punch. But in the lower level aspects of my list, where maybe I don't have the archers to back up, those longbows, you're going to silence them. They don't have the armor. I need something to bodyguard them. I will take 2 infantry stands as initiative sinks to burn. 2 infantry stands can do a tremendous amount of damage, and they're not really going anywhere. And then I will have 1 mech that is not super killy, but it's got the armor and it's got a variety of weapon systems, since it's not going to be something dedicated, say like an awesome. And I love the awesome because it's awesome. I don't have the points necessarily for an awesome, but to put 3 PPCs on, I don't know when you make it past me and you close with my longbows and I can't stop you. I don't know what tactical asset you've done that with. I mean, is it vehicles? Is it a heavy mech? Is it a couple of light mechs that are just going to try and dance and swarm? So I need a variety of weapon systems to engage. So I will take a Warhammer, or I will take a Thunderbolt on there. Slight heat issues on the Thunderbolt. Sometimes an Orion, but I mean, Orion's a great mech, but we got to look into battle value on there. There's a sliding scale, but always 2 infantry stands and then the Warhammer or the Thunderbolt. Those 4 units inning. That's the tabletop plan. And I go into all my lances. I can't control what my opponent's going to bring, because most of the time, at least the way I experience Battletech, is we agree on a battle value. We may agree on a mission ahead of time, but then it's a blind build. I don't know what you're going to take. I don't know what you're going to show up with. Now, certainly, Battletech personalities you learn over time. You're like, look, we're going in with 6K. Fritz is going to have an Atlas. He's going to have some locusts, even if it's not a themed list. He's bringing the Karnov with 2 infantry stands because he can't resist not hot dropping infantry on mechs. He's probably going to have a fire starter because he's still trying to work on like burning stuff down and dousing you in flames and stuff like that, but it never really works on there. Firestarter is very deceptive because Firestarter is a light mech with a lot of weaponry, so you're fooled into thinking it's like a medium mech. At least that's my opinion, but that is a podcast for another time. So with this build, I don't know what you're going to take. I don't know how you're going to play. I might not even know the mission. So the only thing I can control beyond my selection of mechs based on the appropriate battle value and tanks and infantry is to come up with a plan. What I'm going to do on the table, how I'm going to try and make it happen, and how we're going to try and execute it on the table. That is my list. This was only supposed to be a 4 or 5 minute podcast for Battletech, but this is some good Battletech stuff. And again, the link down there underneath this vlog will take you to my Wargamer Fritz blog, Battletech every week. You can search on the archives, just do like longbow or delayed gunline Battletech list, and about 5 or 6 different articles are going to come up, images are going to come up, a lot more detail than I can push out here than on YouTube.